If you're moving to Southwest Florida because the homes look cheaper than where you live now, there's a very real chance you're underestimating the true cost, and it's usually not because of the home price. In this video, I'm going to break down what it really costs to live here, not just the house, but the insurance, flood exposure, HOA and condo fees, taxes, transportation, and everyday lifestyle costs that most websites don't clearly show you. By the end of this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 real-world examples: a low-maintenance condo, a single-family home, and new construction, so you can see exactly how these costs stack up month to month and learn how to break this down on your own before you ever make an offer. Hey, if we haven't met, my name is Rick Harrison. I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Florida, and I work almost exclusively with relocation buyers who want to make smart financial decisions, not just emotional ones. I've helped hundreds of clients move here successfully, and I've also seen what happens when buyers don't run the full numbers up front. Let's start breaking this down step by step so there's no surprises later. Most people focus on the home price first because that's the easiest number to see. But in Southwest Florida, the purchase price is often the least important part of the monthly cost. 2 homes can be listed at the same price and end up costing you very different amounts to live in every month. Not because of the mortgage, but because everything layered on top of it. Insurance, HOA or condo fees, and community costs can swing the numbers dramatically. And many of those don't show up clearly online or show up partially, which is where people get caught off guard. So instead of guessing, we're going to break down these costs one at a time and then pull together at the end so you can actually compare real-world scenarios, not just list prices. And the biggest swing factor for most people moving here is insurance. Insurance is the single biggest cost shock for most people moving to Southwest Florida, and it's also one of the most misunderstood. Homeowners insurance here isn't just about the value of the house. It's heavily influenced by the age of the home, the roof, the construction type, how close you are to the water, and how well the home has been updated to meet current wind and storm standards. That's why 2 homes with the same price can have insurance costs that are dramatically different. A newer home or one that's been properly updated might have a very manageable premium, while an older home, even if it's in great shape, can come with significantly higher insurance simply because of how it was built and when. To give you a real-world example, the home my wife and I just sold was built in 1994. Our homeowner's insurance on that house was about $4,500 per year. After Hurricane Ian, the property was rezoned into a flood zone, even though the home never flooded, which added another $2,500 per year in flood insurance. Part of the reason we bought that home originally was because it didn't require flood insurance at the time. But that's a good reminder that flood zones can change and insurance requirements can change with them. The home we're building and moving into shortly is almost twice the size, costs over $100,000 more, and it's on the same side of Bayshore, about the same distance from the river. But because it's built to current standards, our homeowner's insurance will be a little over $1,200 per year, and there's no flood insurance requirement. So even though the new home is bigger and more expensive, we're saving almost $5,500 per year in fixed insurance costs. Flood insurance is a separate piece of the puzzle, and this is where a lot of people get confused. Being in a flood zone doesn't automatically mean a home floods, and not being in a flood zone doesn't mean that there's no risk. Flood zones change over time and insurance requirements can change with them, which is why this needs to be evaluated early, not after you're under contract. One thing I want to be very clear about is the trade-offs with location. Many of the most desirable areas, places like McGregor Boulevard or Whiskey Creek, are made up of older homes. You're often paying more for insurance in those areas, but you're also buying into an established location, mature landscaping, proximity to everything, and a lifestyle that newer developments can't always replicate. There's no right or wrong choice, there's just trade-offs. And the mistake people make is focusing on one number without understanding what they're actually getting in return. The key takeaway with insurance is this: it's not something you estimate casually or assume will be similar from one home to the next. It's one of the first numbers that should be verified, because it can change the entire affordability equation. Once insurance is accounted for, the next major cost that catches people off guard is community fees, especially HOA and condo fees, and how incomplete those numbers often look online. When you're browsing homes, the fee you see listed is often only part of the story. Some communities have a master association and a sub-association. Some condos have a base fee plus additional charges. What matters more than the number itself is understanding what the fee is actually covering. Higher HOA or condo fees don't automatically mean a bad deal. In many cases, those fees are just replacing costs you would otherwise be paying out of pocket. Things like exterior maintenance, roof replacements, building insurance, or even utilities in some buildings. On the flip side, lower HOA fees often mean more responsibility falls on you individually. Maintenance, repairs, and insurance don't disappear. They just move from a shared expense to a personal one. Condos deserve special attention here because they're often marketed as low maintenance or maintenance free. That can be true on a day-to-day basis, but it also means costs are shared across the building. And that's where where special assessments come into play, especially in older buildings. So instead of asking, is this HOA high or low, the more useful question is, what expense does this replace, and what risks am I sharing versus carrying myself? Once you understand that layer, it becomes much easier to evaluate the next cost that shows up frequently in newer communities, CDD fees, and why they exist in the first place. A CDD, or Community Development District, is a way newer developments fund infrastructure like roads, utilities, drainage, and amenities. Instead of those costs being rolled entirely into the home price or the HOA, they're paid over time through your property tax bill. That's why a home in a newer community might look like it has reasonable HOA fees, but the taxes feel higher than expected. The CDD isn't a separate bill you get in the mail, it's built into your annual property taxes. Whether a CDD is good or bad really depends on how you look at it. In many cases, it's part of what allows newer communities to have well-maintained roads, modern infrastructure, and amenities without charging extremely high HOA fees up front. But it's still a real cost, and it's one that needs to be factored into the monthly picture. When you start stacking insurance, HOA or condo fees, and CDs together, you begin to see how the same price range can lead to very different monthly realities. Hey, before we move on here, just a quick pause. If you're actively planning a move to Southwest Florida, I do have a relocation kit linked in the description. It's not a replacement for this video, but it's a pretty helpful companion resource that does cover a lot of other things people don't always think about when relocating. So if you want something you can reference offline while you're thinking all this through, you can grab it using the link below. All right, let's keep going. Location plays a much bigger role in monthly costs than most people expect. Homes closer to the water and established central neighborhoods or near major corridors often come with higher insurance or older construction considerations. Newer communities further out may offer lower insurance and newer systems, but they also come with longer drives or additional community costs. High-rise condos offer convenience and views, but they also concentrate costs in ways that don't always feel obvious at first. Waterfront properties bring their own set of considerations. Beyond purchase price, you're often factoring in higher insurance, maintenance, and long-term exposure. But for many people, the lifestyle benefit outweighs those costs. There's no universally cheaper option here. You're always paying somewhere, whether that's insurance, HOA fees, taxes, commute time, or maintenance. The key is understanding where you're paying and whether that trade-off aligns with how you actually plan to live. And once location is clear, there's another everyday cost that catches many relocation buyers off guard: transportation, especially when they're coming from places with strong public transit. In most areas here, daily life is very car dependent. Public transportation is limited, and even in well-located neighborhoods, driving is usually part of the routine. That alone isn't necessarily a problem, but it does change your monthly budget compared to places where you might rely on buses. Car insurance in Florida is among the highest in the country, and that's often a surprise for people moving from the Midwest or Northeast. Then there's a seasonal factor. During peak season, traffic increases, drive times get longer, and wear and tear on vehicles tends to go up. The takeaway here isn't that transportation costs are unreasonable, it's that they're different. And if you're budgeting based on a lifestyle that assumes minimal driving, those assumptions usually need to be adjusted once you're actually living here. Once transportation's factored in, the next question most people ask is about taxes, especially whether Florida's lack of state income tax really offsets some of those other costs. Florida's lack of state income tax is one of the reasons many people consider moving here, and it does matter, but property taxes are still a real part of the monthly cost, and they need to be understood correctly. Here in Lee County, a good rule of thumb that the property taxes typically run around 1.5% of the purchase price before any exemptions. Once a property becomes your primary residence, you can qualify for the homestead exemption, and that number usually comes down often about $300 to $400 per year. More importantly, the assessed value is capped, which helps protect you from large tax increases as home values rise over time. There's also something called homestead portability, which a lot of people don't realize exists. If you ever sell your homesteaded property and buy another home in Florida, you can transfer some or all of that capped tax benefit to the new property. That can result in meaningful tax savings if prices or tax assessments have increased significantly since your original purchase. It's also important to remember that things like CDD fees are included in your property tax bill. So while Florida's tax structure can absolutely work in your favor, especially long-term, property taxes still need to be factored into your monthly cost when comparing different types of homes and communities. Once taxes are clear, the next question people usually have is about everyday living. When it comes to everyday living costs, things like utilities, services, and basic maintenance, Southwest Florida is usually less shocking than the housing costs. But it's still important to understand what's normal here. Water bills, for example, are often lower than people expect. Electricity tends to be the bigger utility expense, especially during the summer months when the air conditioning is running constantly. Natural gas, where available, is often minimal. Many homes here are full electric, but for those that do have gas, it's typically a smaller monthly expense. Internet is another fixed cost people usually ask about. For example, high-speed internet through providers like Comcast is often around $75 a month for 1 gig speed, depending on the package and the promotions. Then there are services that become part of everyday life for many homeowners. Lawn care is extremely common here, and for standard residential properties, professional lawn service typically runs around $100 to $125 per month. Individually, none of these expenses feel extreme, but collectively, they shape what day-to-day living actually costs, especially if you're moving from an area where utilities, maintenance, or driving-related expenses look very different. And it's important to note that these are general examples just based on Lee County. The goal isn't to pin down exact numbers, it's just to help you build a realistic range instead of guessing. Now, once those baseline living costs are accounted for, there's one more angle worth addressing, and that's how today's new construction market is changing affordability in ways a lot of buyers don't expect. In many areas of Southwest Florida, builders have been reducing prices and offering incentives because they need to move inventory. And that's made new construction far more competitive than it was just a few years ago. But there are trade-offs to understand. At the same price point, resale homes often come with more upgrades already in place. With new construction, many of those items are either basic or not included, which means additional out-of-pocket costs early on. One specific example is pools. Having a pool added by the builder can sometimes cost $30,000 to $40,000 more than having it installed after closing by the third-party contractor. In some cases, builders are even allowing buyers to use a third-party contractor and roll that cost into the mortgage, which can make a big difference in how the numbers work. Where new construction tends to win is on fixed, predictable expenses. Newer homes are built to current standards, so while you may spend more upfront finishing the home, the ongoing monthly costs outside of HOA fees are often lower. That's why new construction has become so competitive. It's not automatically better or worse, it's a different balance between upfront costs and long-term predictability. So now let's take everything we've talked about and apply it to 3 very common real-world scenarios people are choosing between right now, and walk through what the monthly numbers might actually look like. So scenario 1, let's start with a condo or townhome priced around $325,000 in an established community with amenities and maintenance-free living. With 20% down, your loan amount would be about $260,000, putting your estimated mortgage payment around $1,600 to $1,650 per month. Now let's layer in the non-mortgage costs. HOA or condo fees in this type of community often run around $600 to $700 per month. Property taxes in Lee County at roughly 1.5% would be about $4,875 per year. Utilities tend to be lower, electric around $120 to $150 per month, and water is often included. Fixed costs around $1,190 per month. Combined with the mortgage, you're looking at an estimated total monthly cost of roughly $2,800 to $2,900 per month. Now let's look at a single-family home priced around $450,000 in a gated community with modest amenities and no mandatory memberships. With 20% down, your loan amount would be about $360,000, putting your estimated mortgage payment around $2,250 per month. HOA fees might be around $125 to $175 per month. Property taxes at roughly 1.5% would be $6,750 per year before homestead. Homeowners insurance could reasonably range from $2,500 to $4,000 per year. Flood insurance may or may not apply. Typical ongoing costs: electric $180 to $220 a month, water $35 to $60, pool maintenance maybe $125. So your non-mortgage fixed costs often land in the $1,050 to $1,250 per month range. When combined with the mortgage, that puts your total monthly costs around $3,300 to $3,500 per month. Now let's look at new construction, which has become much more competitive recently. Assume a purchase price of $480,000 to $500,000 with builder incentives. With 20% down, your loan amount would be roughly $385,000 to $400,000. At today's typical resale rate, around 6.5%, your principal and interest payment would be roughly $2,400 to $2,500 per month, depending on the final price and loan amount. Now let's layer in the fixed costs. Property taxes in Lee County at 1.5% would be about $600 to $625 per month, including NEC fees. Homeowners insurance on a newer home is often around $1,200 to $1,800 per year, or about $100 to $150 per month. HOA fees might be around $175 to $250 per month. Typical ongoing utilities and services: electric around $150 to $180, water $35 to $50, lawn care $100 to $125. That puts non-mortgage fixed costs in the range of about $850 to $1,000 per month. So at current market rates, around 6.5%, your all-in monthly costs might land roughly between $3,300 to $3,500 per month. Now here's where builder incentives can meaningfully change the picture. Many builders are offering temporary or permanent rate buydowns, sometimes to 5.25 or even 3.99%, depending on the program. At around 5.25%, that same mortgage payment could drop closer to $2,100 to $2,200 per month, reducing your all-in monthly cost to roughly $3,000 or $3,100. The important thing to understand is that these incentives vary, they're not guaranteed, and they change frequently. But when they're available, they can materially shift the monthly picture, which is why it's worth looking at all your options side by side instead of relying on assumptions. Living in Southwest Florida isn't cheap in the way many people expect when they first start looking online. The goal isn't to convince you that this is the right move. The only bad outcome is moving without fully understanding the numbers. If you're planning to move and want help running these numbers for your specific situation, whether that's a condo, a resale home, or new construction with incentives, you can find my contact information in the description, the pinned comment, or inside my relocation kit. And if you'd like that kit as a reference, you can download it using the QR code on your screen or the link in the description and pinned comment. And if you want to keep getting educated about this area, I recommend watching the next video. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.